Hey loves, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing the new Soft Pinch Luminous Powdered Blushes from Rare Beauty. I live for a glowy luminous blush, so these have my name written all over it. So I'm going to swatch them all. There's 6 shades total. I'm also going to compare them to some other glowy blushes that I already own, both high-end and drugstore. I'm going to let you know if these are worth the money because they are $26 each. So grab a snack, get cozy, and let's get into it. Let's start off with some swatches first. And I love that based on just me swatching the colors right now, they definitely give off that luminosity versus that glittery kind of finish. They're actually really silky soft to the touch. So I'm gonna do one on one side, one on the other, and I'm gonna wipe off my makeup, by the way, like my foundation in between each one. Starting off with the first color, which by the way is I think gonna be the most popular shade. This one is in Happy. This one does have a matching liquid blush. I'm just gonna focus on the powders today though, because I want to see how these perform just on their own, but I think it's cute that you have a matching liquid blush as well. Let's start with Happy, and I'm gonna use an angled blush brush. This one is from the Sephora collection. I'm gonna dip and then top off the excess. So far, these look really pigmented. I'm gonna start on the apples of my cheeks and then just swipe that upwards. Ooh, one swipe. Just gonna kind of tap that in and then swipe it upwards. Very pretty pink. It is super luminous. It almost kind of gives that highlighter effect, like highlighter and blush. I mean, duh, it's a luminous blush, but like it definitely looks as if I put like a matte blush and then added a little bit of like a highlighter over top of it. This is pretty. It's actually a little bit of like a darker pink than I thought, but it's gorgeous. I would definitely use this as like a topper with other blushes. So this is Happy. That's really pretty. I'm excited for the peachy tones. I think I'm gonna like those the most, but this color is gorgeous. I love like a pink luminous blush highlighter. It's like a baked blush, but better because it's not glittery. On the other side, we're gonna compare the shade Cheer, and I'm gonna use the same brush, and I'm using the It Cosmetics brush bath, by the way, which I love. So now this one is Cheer. The pigment is insane. You actually don't even need to swirl your brush as much as I'm doing. Less is more. Oh, I love this color. It's kind of like a hybrid between pink and peach. Surprisingly, I think I like this one more than the shade Happy. I thought I was gonna love Happy the most. I mean, I know I haven't used all the shades, but this one I just love the mix, again, of like pink and peach. Oh no! Something that I'm noticing, and I feel like maybe it's because the blush is so finely milled and it's very soft. There is a little nick in there. I guess I must have just did that. I don't even know how I just did that. But there is a little nick in the blush, which I know a lot of people complained about the highlighters, which I love the highlighters, but they do break easily if you drop them, or if you're tapping your brush, like to tap off the excess, it can crack the highlighter because they're so like just soft. So that is something that I am noticing right now, but I like this color Cheer. Definitely buildable, and comparing it to Happy is just very pink. It's almost like a little bit of a metallic-y kind of pink, which I do like, but I think Cheer for my skin tone is a little bit more wearable, and I would definitely wear this kind of on its own, whereas Happy I would probably maybe top it over something that's a little bit lighter, or just use a little bit less maybe next time because it is very bold. And next 2 shades, so I am gonna literally wipe off my foundation and then just reapply. I knew that this was gonna happen, so I used a more affordable foundation so that I'm not wasting my expensive foundation. So I'm using the Believe Beauty Skin Finish Foundation. This is one of the most affordable foundations that I have in my collection, but it's actually one of the most beautiful, and it's like $5 or $6 at the Dollar General. So I'm just using this. By the way, this one is in the color Neutral Tan. And then Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder over top just to set that down. I'm gonna do this for every single blush, by the way, that I swatched. Next up, let's go in with Hope. This looks like a really pretty rose gold shade. Has again that pinky, almost like magenta undertone, so I'm excited about this shade. And this time I'm going to use an It Cosmetics blush brush. So let's go in with Hope. I'm going to do a little bit less. Swatching it on the brush, you can see that this is actually a little bit more warm than I thought. I thought it was going to be more rose gold, but let's see. Oh, that's pretty. Sort of similar a little bit to the color Cheer, but I would say that luminous finish that's underneath is definitely a bit more pink. So there is Hope. I still think Cheer so far is my favorite, but this is really pretty. I feel like if I was tanner, I would like this shade a little bit more, but I love the finish of these. The formula is really, really nice. I feel like with Hope, the actual color of the blush is a little bit more on the warm side, but the luminosity to it is a bit more pinky rose gold. On the other side, this is the other color that I think I'm gonna love, which is Joy. Same brush, I just spot cleaned it. This one is definitely more orangey, warm terracotta. I think this is gonna be a nice kind of summer blush. Very, very pretty. So we have Joy. I love this one. This is my second favorite next to Cheer. So Joy and Hope. I think Hope is pretty, but I'm gearing more towards Joy on this side for sure. And of course, these are luminous blushes, so if you have any type of texture or breakouts, these are going to emphasize them. And that's the case with any type of luminous blush. It's going to bring out some of those imperfections, which is not a big deal, but if, you know, it's a luminous blush, it's not matte, so it's going to stand out a bit more versus a matte blush. But even sometimes whenever I have texture, if I'm breaking out, I still like to do a luminous blush. I just kind of go easy on it and not do too much. Last two colors, Truth, which is a gorgeous, almost like maroon, kind of magenta color. And then we have Love, which is a deeper terracotta. So let's start off with Truth. Again, I'm gonna use the same brushes. This color I already know is going to be not for my skin tone, but I'm going to show you guys what it looks like anyways. I feel like this would be perfect if you have like a tanner, deeper skin tone. It's a pretty color, it's just I feel like not flattering on me. It's not really made for my skin tone. It's almost like a bronzy, maroonish blush. Very pigmented, but you can keep it light if you are very light-handed. It also depends on the kind of brush that you're using. This one from It Cosmetics is fluffy, but it has a little bit more density to it, so it is going to pick up the product and really pack it on. That's why I really like it. But if you use something much like less dense and more fluffy, like this one for instance, it's from BH Cosmetics. It's an old brush, but it doesn't have a lot of firmness to it. So if you apply it, it's going to be a little bit more light on the cheeks. So it totally also comes down to your brush. Now on the other side, let's try Love. I feel like the darker colors, maybe it's just because they are darker, they almost kind of look a little bit spotty on my face. Now mind you, I am wiping off my foundation and stuff in between, so that probably has something to do with it as well. Like my base is not totally flawless underneath, but I just want to show you guys the color. They do blend really nicely though, but they are very pigmented. So this one is very similar to Joy, but it's more terracotta and much deeper in tone. My two favorite colors out of the bunch, Cheer and Joy. I absolutely love these. So I'm going to compare these to some other favorite blushes that I have. Let's start off with Joy. So it is pigmented, but at the same time, you can also keep it really light and just dust a little bit and build it up gradually if you want to just give yourself a little bit of color and glow without doing too much. Oh yeah, I love this color. This one is everything. Let's add a little bit more to build it up so you can really see that color. I have two blushes, three actually, that are I think very similar in tone to this. So we have to first compare it to Milani Luminoso. This is my favorite drugstore luminous blush. Okay, so this is Luminoso. Definitely less pigmented, but it does have that luminous finish. I feel like the luminous finish in the Milani one is a little bit lighter, whereas the luminous finish in the Rare Beauty one is pretty much the same color as the blush. So it's a bit more warm, orangey, peachy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see that highlighter there? It's the same color as the blush, whereas Luminoso, it's a little bit lighter and it's not as pigmented as Rare Beauty. But when you build it up, you definitely get that gorgeous peach orangey tone, which I love. So here we have Joy from Rare Beauty and Luminoso from Milani. Definitely much lighter in tone. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a dupe. It's a nice alternative if you're looking for a luminous blush, but it's definitely not a dupe. I'm glad I got to kind of test it out side by side, because I almost thought it was going to be a dupe, but it's not. You know the color that could actually maybe be closer in tone from also Milani? This one is in Rose Doro. I think a very underrated shade. It's kind of like a bronzy terracotta. So let me add this over top of Luminoso and we can kind of compare it and see how it looks with Joy. I feel like with Joy, it might show up also if you are a tanner, you have a little bit more color, whereas Luminoso probably won't show up if you are super, super tan, or if you're deeper tone, this is not going to show up. So, okay, let's go in with the Rose Doro. You know what? I should wipe it off and kind of just, yeah, hold on. Let's just do it right. So let me wipe this side off actually. I feel like nobody talks about the shade Rose Doro. Everybody talks about Dulce Pink and Luminoso, but this one is also really pretty from Milani too. Do you guys hear the rain? It's been pouring the last like 3 days and I'm missing the sun, but it is very therapeutic though, hearing the rain. This is kind of like Luminoso, but it's a little bit more bronzy. So actually, wait, I think this might be a little bit closer, Rose Doro to Joy. Again, not an exact dupe. I will say the ones from Rare Beauty are more pigmented, but the ones from Milani are gorgeous as well. I like that these also are not glittery, but I think in comparison to the ones from Rare, they have a little bit more of a powdery finish, whereas the ones from Rare are definitely more silky. But I would say actually this color is very close to Joy, more than Luminoso, but it's really pretty. I like how buildable the Milani blushes are. I think these are fabulous. This is Joy. And then this is Rose Doro. So very similar kind of tones. That luminosity is pretty similar as well. And again, I have another comparison that I want to compare to Joy. Actually, I have two more, so I'm gonna have to do this a couple times. It's not a good complexion day because of course I have to wipe everything off, so I'm trying to make this look as seamless as possible. Powder always does the trick, and then I'm just using my powder puff to kind of like blend the edges of my under eyes out a little bit because it looks a little crazy. But next comparison, a lot of people compare these to the baked blushes from Milani, and these are the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blushes. These are really pretty as well. To me, these are a little bit more glittery than the ones from Milani, but still really gorgeous and also a very buildable formula. So let's compare the shade Pretty Peach to Joy. I feel like this one already right off the bat is going to be definitely more sheer, and it's more pink, but this one, it's funny because it's called Pretty Peach, but it definitely pulls a little bit more pinky, but I'm still going to show you guys anyways. You definitely need to really get past that first layer of this product to get a good amount of pigment, but these are again buildable and they're not extremely pigmented right off the bat. Personally, I prefer the baked blush formula from Milani, but I do still think these are nice for what they are. But yeah, this one doesn't even honestly compare to Rare Beauty as far as color, because the one from Rare has much more vibrant pigment, whereas this one is really light. I mean, there's even barely any color. Do I have to add another color maybe? A lot of these are pretty light. Let's go in with a little bit of Cool Coral just because this one is so light from Essence. I'm gonna use the same brush. So yeah, not a dupe. I would say if anything, the Milani baked blushes are a little bit of a closer alternative. It doesn't even compare honestly to the Milani ones. I think those are even better. The last orangey luminous blush that I'm going to try out and compare to Joy is the RMS Beauty Redimension Hydra Powdered Blush. This is one of my favorite blush formulas that is shimmery. It's so beautiful, and this one is in Mai Tai. It's also really pigmented as well. And I picked this up at JCPenney. Okay, so there we have the RMS. I feel like the one from Rare, again, it's still even, I think, more vibrant than this one from RMS. It's a little bit softer. I do like the formula of the one from RMS though. It goes on so smooth. The formula to RMS feels a little bit more on the powdery side. It's a bit more dry, whereas the one from Rare Beauty, it just feels very silky to the touch. Now we're going to compare the shade Happy, which, by the way, in addition to Cheer and Joy, those two shades, I do actually also like Happy. I think this is a nice pink. Love the way that looks now. I'm just really lightly diffusing that shade and bringing it upwards. I have to compare this to my favorite highlighter. It's the Bio Radiant Gel Powdered Highlighter from it's in the shade Rose Quartz from Haus Labs. This I love on its own, but I also love it topped over other blushes as well. So let's see how this compares to Happy. So I definitely noticed right off the bat the Haus Labs one is much lighter in tone as far as the pink tone and as far as the glow. It has a bit of like that kind of icy luminous finish, whereas Rare Beauty, again, the luminous finish is very similar to the color of the blush. So here we have a Happy. Here we have the Haus Labs one. Interesting. I actually thought the Haus Labs one was going to be a little bit, like, I didn't realize, like, compared to the one from Rare Beauty, how light it actually really is, but oh wow. Totally depends on the look and tone that you're looking for, but this one is definitely much more frosty, I would say, also from Haus Labs, but this isn't really a blush technically. It's a highlighter with a pinky kind of undertone. I love this one though, but yeah, Happy is just so vibrant. These are insane. Next, we're going to compare Happy to Dulce Pink from Milani 01. I love this color. Oh wow, I actually feel like this could be a nice alternative to Happy. But you have to build this one up way more versus Happy, which is just going to give you that vibrant pigment right off the bat. Happy and Dulce Pink. I'm gonna finally add the shade Cheer. I think out of all of them, this one is my top favorite. It's just so pretty. So if you like this pink peach hybrid, you have to try the Ambient Lighting Blush from Hourglass in the shade Sublime Flush. This is the last comparison I'm gonna do because for me, it's not very often that I find the perfect mix of pink and peach in a blush. And yeah, with Cheer, it's fabulous. I love it. But this one from Hourglass is my favorite high-end blush out of all the ones that I own. Patrick Ta is next, but I want to show you in comparison to this. I think the color is very similar, but the finish is different. Let me just show you. Hourglass is definitely not as luminous. It's going to give you a glow, but it's very, very subtle. It's almost kind of just like that inner glow from within, but it doesn't really look glittery or luminous or like you have a highlighter on. It's just very, very subtle. But I wanted to mention it because again, it is that perfect hybrid of pink and peach. I feel like it is honestly just like the shade Cheer, maybe a little bit lighter, but of course the one from Rare Beauty is much more luminous. So if you're like, girl, that looks way too luminous, I want that color but I don't want that much luminosity, I would definitely try the Hourglass blushes. You can just see it's so much more subtle. You're still going to get a lot of pigment. You have to build these up though. Also for sure, I feel like once again, the Rare Beauty ones are just super vibrant. They're like the liquid blushes, like they're intense. But if you're into this kind of color, definitely try the Sublime Flush shade. So that is my last comparison. I love the way both of these look though. I would even go as far as saying that the Cheers shade from Rare Beauty would be like a nice topper as well over the one from Hourglass if you want to just amp up that luminosity. You see? Because it's literally almost the same color. The one from Hourglass though is definitely a little bit lighter in tone, but wow, I really, really like the way that looks actually over the Hourglass one. Definitely looks luminous, but since the Hourglass blush is there, I feel like it looks a little bit softer than this side with just the shade Cheer, but I love it though on its own too. So it is the next day, but I wanted to try out the blushes again with these two brushes that I didn't use yesterday. I was so focused on the blushes that I wanted to just get started and use my regular tools. But these brushes actually look really good, and I want to see if the blush application looks a little bit different, because truly it all comes down to your makeup tools, and certain products might look a little bit more sheer or more pigmented depending on the brush that you use. So let's test these out. This one is the Always an Optimist blush brush, I believe. I will put the exact name here on screen. And then this is the powdered brush. It's very fluffy, super tapered, and it feels really soft. So I'm going to try out the color Happy first, and I'm going to use the tapered brush. Today I just have on a little bit of bronzer, but I didn't add any liquid blush or anything. Ooh, that's pretty. You see that actually applied it really nicely. I actually do like the way that this brush feels. It's really soft and it's not too dense. So I feel like it picks up a good amount of product and it gives you a really nice diffused, smooth finish because the bristles are just like tapered, and it's a really good shape too. It fits the cheek perfectly. Now on the other side, I'm going to use the other brush, and this is the color Cheer. Oh yeah, I definitely like the other brush more. Rare Beauty has another brush like this that's a little bit smaller. I think it's for like their liquid blushes, and it definitely gets the job done. It concentrates the blush a little bit more, and it's soft, but it is a little too dense for my liking. It does apply the blush really nicely, I will say. You can kind of build it up and get a lot of pigment with this kind of brush. Not that you can't with the tapered one, but I feel like this one just applies it a little bit more soft on the cheeks. I'm gonna take a little bit of the color Joy with that fluffy brush. I like this one more, to be honest. I don't think it's totally necessary to get the brush with the blush, but if you want to splurge, I think this is a nice brush, but you could totally just use your regular makeup tools. This is just because I wanted to try it, but oh yeah, this brush is nice. I feel like this would even be really nice too with darker blushes if you want to make them a little bit more wearable. It allows you to apply the product really softly and you can build it up, but it's not too much. Love the brush. 10 out of 10 for it. The blushes are fabulous. If you do want to splurge on a brush, I would go with this one over the other one. Personally, I just think you're going to get a more seamless application, and it's super soft. I can now confidently say that these are the most vibrant luminous blushes that I own personally. I love that I got to compare them to other luminous blushes in my collection that are favorites. These definitely stand out the most because they are the most pigmented and they're super glowy. The only critique-ish is just that I feel like these are going to break easily because they feel very delicate, just like the highlighters, but still love them. I still love the highlighters. I still use it even if it's broken because it's such a beautiful formula. It's super intense. I like the lightest shade for the inner corner. I don't think that you need to layer these over a liquid blush. I think this is just on its own going to give you the perfect amount of color. The other shades that I do like, Hope, I feel like is a little bit of a darker version of Cheer, Joy, and Happy. I love the formula. I think you should definitely maybe pick one up if you're in the market for a new glowy blush. If you guys have any other favorites, let me know down below because I love a luminous blush, but I also love a matte blush too. I think it totally depends on the look. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me. Hopefully this was helpful, and I cannot wait to see you very soon in my next one. Bye!